Welcome back. This is another excerpt from the Twitter files. I wish I could do the little music from the X-Files. How Twitter rigged the, and I'll say, instead of the word, I'm going to say C-word debate. And we'll see how long this stays up on this website. It should, because all he's doing is telling the truth. And the rest of it was about government interference with elections, covering things up for politicians, just basically destroying free speech as much as they could, as long as it suit their purposes. This is about how the Twitter files and government intervened in First Amendment rights during the C-word debate. By censoring info that was true but inconvenient to U.S. government policy, by discrediting doctors and other experts who disagreed, by suppressing ordinary users, including some sharing the CDC's own data. Yeah, there's some people on Twitter that shared the CDC data who were taken off for misinformation. No comment on that one. Let's take a look. It's quite interesting, actually. So far, the Twitter files had focused on evidence of Twitter's secret blacklist, how the company functioned as a kind of subsidiary of the FBI, which they did. All the social media companies, the bigger ones anyway, and how execs rewrote the platform's rules to accommodate their own political desires. What we have yet to cover is the C word. Thus, reporting for the free press is one piece of that important story. Now, this is going to be a little bit longer than normal, but I think this is really, really useful information. United States government pressured Twitter and other social media platforms to elevate certain content and suppress other content about the C word. You know, so I'm doing it on purpose because it might screw up the algorithm. Internet files at Twitter that I viewed while on assignment for the Free Press. That was, I believe, Barry Weiss. She was given a lot of stuff from Elon Musk, and she had several excerpts where they called the Twitter files. So he's on assignment for the Free Press, which Barry Weiss runs. Show that both the Trump and Biden administrations directly pressed Twitter executives to moderate the platform's pandemic content according to their wishes. Now, I'm a big Trump fan. I'm going to say it up front, so I have a little bit of bias. And you're going to see how the Trump administration interfered and then how the Biden administration interfered, and you decide which one. Now, is technically interfering with free speech? Yeah. But you'll see why the Trump administration did. So I don't let them off the hook, but I chastise them much less. At the onset of the pandemic, according to the meeting notes, the Trump administration was especially concerned about panic buying. Yeah, I had a convenience store back then. You go into all the grocery stores. Toilet paper was gone. Other everyday useful items were gone. There were limits on how much you could buy because people were stockpiling it and panic buying. And that screws everybody. Remember the baby formula nonsense? They came looking for help from the tech companies to combat misinformation about runs on grocery stores. But there were runs on grocery stores. And the Trump administration, at least someone in it, tried to interfere. It wasn't just Twitter. The meetings with the Trump White House were also attended by Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and others. Now, interesting, the Twitter people sitting down with Trump White House officials. I would have paid money to hear those meetings. When the Biden administration took over, now, that's it. That's it for Trump. They said misinformation concerning panic buying. Yeah, that's a First Amendment violation. I'll chastise Trump and his people for that because ultimately he's responsible for being president. But this is pale in comparison to when we go to the Biden administration. When the Biden administration took over, one of their first meeting requests with Twitter execs was on the C word. The focus was on anti-vaxxer accounts, specifically Alex Bernenson. In the summer of 2021, President Biden said social media companies were killing people for allowing vaccine misinformation. Bernenson was suspended hours after Biden's comment and kicked off the platform the following month. Bernenson sued and then settled with Twitter, an undisclosed amount. In legal process, Twitter was compelled to release certain internal communications, which showed direct White House pressure on the company to take action against this individual. A December 2022 summary of meetings with the White House by Lauren Culbertson, Twitter's head of U.S. public policy, adds new evidence of the White House pressure campaign and cements that it reportedly attempted to directly influence the platform. Culbertson wrote that Biden team was very angry that Twitter had not been more aggressive in deplatforming multiple accounts. They wanted Twitter to do more. The Biden team was not satisfied with Twitter's enforcement approach, and they wanted Twitter to do more and deplatform several accounts. They were very angry in nature. Twitter executives did not fully capitulate to the Biden team's wishes. Now, I like to give them kudos, but I'm not really sure what percent did not fully capitulate to their request. So the Biden administration had 100 requests, and 2 of them they fought. Well, so it's hard to say whether I should give kudos to the execs or not for fighting that. But Twitter did suppress views, many from doctors and scientific experts, that conflicted with the official positions of the White House. As a result, legitimate findings and questions that would have been expanded to public debate went missing. There are 3 serious problems with Twitter's process. First, much of the content and moderation was conducted by bots trained on machine learning and artificial intelligence. Impressive in their engineering, yet too crude for such nuanced work. And that's the problem with AI. It has no nuance. Second, contractors in places like the Philippines also moderate content. Interesting enough, though, where are the progressives and the Democrats that love these companies and the CEOs, at least until Elon Musk got Twitter, that are placing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs offshore in places like the Philippines? Nothing against the people in the Philippines, but this certainly is an America first business practice, even though it probably saves a ton of money. They were given decision trees to aid in the process, but tasking non-experts to adjudicate tweets on complex topics like myocarditis and mask efficiency data was destined for a significant error rate, of course. Third, most importantly, the buck stopped with higher-level employees at Twitter who chose the inputs for the bots and decision trees. Is subjectively decided, escalated cases and suspensions. Yeah. These sons, I'm even going to say it. Maybe I won't because I don't want to flag this video. These SOBs took off their platform a sitting president of the United States. I don't care if you hate Donald Trump's guts. That is unbelievable, ballsy, and wrong. As if with all the people and institutions, they were individual and collective bias. 99.9% of them are all they're not just left-leaning, they're way left. With the C word, this bias bent heavily toward establishment dogmas. I'm 66. When I was young, all these so-called liberals and lefties wanted nothing to do with government. They hated them. They didn't trust them, and they said they lied every single time, even though they didn't. They trusted nobody in government. And they went from defund the police to keep the FBI. And now they're backing up all the institutions and layers of bureaucracy in Washington, the state capitals, and other places. It's amazing to me the 180 these guys have done. And I don't know why. Inevitably, discontent, dissensitive yet legitimate content was labeled as misinformation. And the accounts of doctors and others were suspended for both for tweeting opinions and demonstrating true information. Yeah, here's one here. Dr. Martin Kulldorff, an epidemiologist at Harvard Medical School, tweets views at odds with the U.S. public health authorities and the American left, the political affiliation of nearly the entire staff at Twitter. See, it's not about the science anymore. In part it is. I'm not going to say it's not about anything about science. It's about your ideology first, and then you weed through the science. Instead of going through the science first and your ideology is second, ideology has now comes first. And that all science now is filtered through the ideological eye. Internal emails show an intent to action by a moderator saying Coulthard's tweet violated the company's C-word misinformation policy and claimed he shared false information. Didn't have false information at all. But Coulthard's statement was an expert's opinion, one which also happened to be in line with vaccine policies in numerous other countries. Yet it was deemed false information by Twitter moderators merely because it differed from CDC guidelines. The CDC, just like the World Health Organization, has become an ultra progressive ideological organizations. After Twitter took action, Coulthard's tweet was slapped with a misleading label, and replies and likes were shut off, throttling the tweet's ability to be seen and shared by many people. Yeah, that's the core function of the platform is to share information. In a review of my internal files, I found countless instances of tweets labeled as misleading or taken down entirely, sometimes triggering account suspension simply because they veered from CDC guidance or differed from establishment views. A tweet by Kelly KGA, a self-proclaimed public health fact checker with 18,000 followers, was flagged as misleading in replies. Now get this. Replies and likes disabled even though it displayed the CDC's own data. Stop the video and let that sink in for a moment. My God, my God. Internal records show that a bot had flagged the tweet and that it received many tattles, which the system usually calls reports from users. In other words, I'm left-leaning. I think they're not left-leaning. I don't care if they're right or not. Take them out. Take them out. Get them off the platform. Ban them. That triggered a manual review by a human who, despite the tweet showing actual CDC data, nevertheless labeled it misleading because it was ideology before science. Tellingly, the tweet by Kelly KGA was that labeled misleading was a reply to a tweet that contained actual misinformation. Somebody's had put out some misinformation. She tweeted back and showed the guidelines of the CDC, so she was shut off. Oh, God. The C word has never been the leading cause of death from disease in children, yet that tweet remains on the platform without a misleading label. It's not the number one death to children, the C word. And it's never been. Incredible, huh? Whether by humans or algorithms, content that was contrarian but true is still subject to getting flagged or suppressed. This tweet was labeled misleading even though the owner of this account, a physician, was referring to the results of a published study. It wasn't some study in 3 doctors on a remote island. It was a full study. Now, I can't go into what it says there. You can stop the video and read it and look at the chart. Andrew Boston, a Rhode Island physician, was permanently suspended from Twitter after receiving multiple strikes for misinformation. One of the strikes was for a tweet referring to the results of a peer-reviewed study and the mRNA vaccines. A review of the Twitter log files revealed that an internal audit conducted by Boston's attorney contacted Twitter found that only one of Boston's 5 violations were valid. The one Boston tweet found to still be in violation cited data that was legitimate but inconvenient to the public health establishment's narrative about the risks of the flu versus the C word in children. I can't even tell you how many articles I've seen, hundreds of them, when somebody was brought into, say, emergency room for a gunshot wound and passes away, dies. And back then, the government paid the hospitals and institutions for every C word death. They got money. So what they did was they tested everybody that was in the hospital, either living or dead. And if somebody that had a gunshot wound to his chest and had most of it missing, in the autopsy tested positive for the C word, they put down complications from the C word, even though it was a gunshot wound, because they got money. Money. We all knew this was going on, that ideologies with little or no scientific expertise were being used their power to shut down legitimate debate. The great value of this thread is provides chapter and verse. Only someone with inside access could reveal this. Thank you, Elon Musk. Yeah, fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating. And there you have it. Another installment of the Twitter files. This time about the C word. I hate doing that, but if you use the proper word, the algorithm will pick it up. So, I know this video is a little longer than most. I was going to take a little bit of a sabbatical and not get too much into news and politics, but I saw this, and there's no way I could let it go. Now, we'll see what this website does, considering this video. There's nothing in there, I think, that's any misinformation or dangerous or potentially dangerous to anybody or anything. We'll have to see what they do, though. What they'll probably do is what they've been doing. They'll just suppress it. And the way to get around it, the way to get around the suppression is everyone that hears this video, take a copy of the link and spread it around your social media, email it to friends, family, coworkers, anybody you think might be interested. That's how you get around the suppression. That's how you get, I can't use the proper word, of course, starts with S, but the suppression. They're killing information. And the way around it is take the link, send it out to as many people as you can. And of course, if you think my content is worth subscribing to, please subscribe. And when you do, check that notification bell and click all. Well, we'll see how long this stays up or how badly this gets suppressed. Until next time, goodbye and good luck.